Title: A Lesson in the Sky. Two siblings, Ava and Jordan Mitchell, were seated quietly in the luxurious first-class cabin of a transcontinental flight. Ava, a composed 16-year-old, had neatly tucked her backpack under the seat in front of her and turned to help her younger brother Jordan, who had just turned 14, with his seatbelt. They were both excited, beyond words. This was their first time flying alone, and their father had gifted them these tickets as a reward for excelling in school. The seats were wide, plush, and entirely unlike anything they had experienced in economy. Jordan pressed his face against the window, watching other planes roll along the runway. Ava, ever the responsible sibling, leaned back and flipped open a travel magazine, feeling a mix of pride and quiet nervousness. She was determined to make sure this flight went smoothly. Passengers continued to board. A senior flight attendant, Ms. Lenora Blake, walked through the aisle with an air of practiced confidence. She had served the airline for over 2 decades and was known for her strict adherence to standards. Her uniform was immaculate, her posture rigid. People respected her authority. But when Lenora glanced at Ava and Jordan, something shifted in her demeanor. Her pleasant, professional expression soured into a puzzled frown. She scanned the first-class section quickly, then approached the two teens with visible skepticism. "Excuse me," she said sharply, her voice pitched for nearby passengers to hear. "Are you certain you're seated in the right section?" Startled, Ava looked up and handed over their boarding passes. "Yes, ma'am. Seats 2A and 2B, she replied politely. Lenora examined the tickets, her expression stiffening. "These are for first class. Are your parents traveling with you?" Ava shook her head, maintaining composure. "No, we're traveling alone. Our father booked these seats for us." Lenora stood straighter. Her eyes narrowed with suspicion. First-class seats are generally reserved for adults or frequent travelers. "Let me verify this." She turned sharply and walked toward the galley. Ava sat frozen, heat rushing to her cheeks. Jordan looked over at her, puzzled. Ava gently placed a hand over his. "It's okay," she whispered, trying to stay calm. Lenora returned a minute later, her expression now resolute and cold. "I'm sorry, but you'll need to move. These seats are designated for our premium passengers. Please gather your things and head to economy." "But ma'am," Ava pleaded quietly, holding out the tickets again, "we were assigned these seats." Lenora cut her off. "There must have been a mix-up. Children traveling alone don't usually sit in first class. You're delaying the boarding process." Passengers nearby turned to look. Some appeared uncomfortable, others leaned in, eager to witness the unfolding drama. Ava's face burned with humiliation. Still, she didn't argue. She stood slowly, motioned for Jordan to follow, and together they walked the long, narrow aisle back to economy. They found 2 seats near the rear of the plane and sat down silently. Jordan looked at his sister, his voice hushed. "Did we do something wrong?" "No," Ava whispered, reaching for her phone. Her fingers trembled as she typed a message to their father. "They made us move. The flight attendant didn't believe we had first-class tickets. We're in the back now." She hit send, unsure what response she would receive. Meanwhile, Lenora returned to her duties in first class, content with her decision. Another flight attendant, a younger woman named Riley, had watched the interaction from a distance. She approached her colleague cautiously. "Are you sure they weren't in the right seats?" Lenora sighed. "Riley, I've been doing this long enough to know when something's not right. Those kids clearly didn't belong up here." Suddenly, the cockpit phone rang. Lenora picked it up. "This is Lenora," she said crisply. The captain's voice came through, low and firm. "Ms. Blake, we just received a direct call from Airline headquarters. They've asked to speak with you immediately. Please report to the cockpit." A cold ripple of unease passed through Lenora. She straightened her uniform and walked briskly toward the front of the plane. Inside the cockpit, a screen displayed a live video call with the airline's corporate office. On the screen was Mr. Benjamin Mitchell, CEO of the entire airline and, unknown to Lenora, father of Ava and Jordan. His voice was calm but steely. "Ms. Blake, why were my children removed from their assigned seats in first class?" Lenora's mouth went dry. "There must have been a misunderstanding. I didn't recognize them. Their tickets looked unusual. I was following protocol." Benjamin's eyes didn't waver. "My children had valid, full-fare, first-class tickets. You humiliated them without verifying the information properly." The captain said nothing, but his expression made it clear this wasn't going away. "I expect you to correct this immediately and offer a full apology," Benjamin concluded. "We'll discuss further disciplinary action upon landing." Shaken, Lenora exited the cockpit. Her pace was slower now. The confidence she once carried had evaporated. She walked the full length of the aircraft, feeling every pair of eyes on her. She found Ava and Jordan still seated quietly, trying to distract themselves with music and videos. She cleared her throat gently. "Miss Mitchell, Mr. Mitchell," she began, her voice low. "I owe you both a sincere apology. There was no error with your tickets. I'm very sorry for my conduct. If you would please follow me back to your original seats." Ava looked at her calmly. "You were very sure we didn't belong. May I ask why?" Lenora hesitated, cheeks flushed. "I judged based on appearance. I was wrong." Ava nodded slowly. Without a word, she stood, helped Jordan up, and walked behind Lenora to their seats in first class. The cabin watched silently, some passengers shifting uncomfortably in their seats. As the teens resettled, Lenora hovered nearby awkwardly. "Please let me know if there's anything I can do to make the remainder of your flight more comfortable." Ava looked at her briefly. "Thank you," she said softly. Lenora retreated, her pride in tatters. Later, after landing, before any passengers could disembark, two uniformed airline security officers entered the plane. One addressed Lenora directly. "Ms. Blake, you need to come with us. Management would like to speak with you regarding your conduct on this flight." Gasps and whispers filled the cabin as Lenora, red-faced and silent, walked past the rows of passengers, past Ava and Jordan, and exited the plane. At the gate, Benjamin Mitchell waited with open arms. He embraced both children tightly. "You okay?" he asked. Ava nodded. "It was hard," she admitted. "I'm proud of how you both handled yourselves," he said. Then he turned to the nearby airline executives. "This isn't just about my children. It's about how we treat all passengers. I expect action." And action followed. Within days, new training protocols were implemented across the airline, mandatory courses on bias, respectful communication, and proper verification procedures. Staff at every level were involved, from baggage handlers to senior flight crew. Lenora faced a disciplinary hearing. She was suspended without pay and required to complete comprehensive diversity training and community service. At first, she resisted, justifying her actions, clinging to policy. But slowly, as she listened to real stories from people of every background, her perspective began to shift. She saw the harm her assumptions had caused, both that day and perhaps many times before. She wrote a heartfelt letter to the Mitchell family. "Dear Mr. Mitchell, Ava, and Jordan, I am deeply sorry. My actions were rooted in assumptions, not facts, and they caused you real harm. I've started to see how these judgments, these quiet, unspoken biases, can wound deeply. I am committed to doing better and to growing beyond this moment." Ava read the message aloud at home. Her father watched her closely. "Do you think she really means it?" she asked. "I think people can change," he replied. "But they have to choose to." Months later, on a new flight, Ava and Jordan boarded with their father again, this time on a family trip. The atmosphere was different now. Staff were kinder, more attentive, and careful. They were treated with dignity from the moment they stepped into the airport. As they settled into their seats, a familiar face approached Lenora Blake. She stopped just short of them, her expression respectful but vulnerable. "I just wanted to say, again, I'm truly sorry for what happened. It changed me. I can't undo what I did, but I promise I'm doing everything I can to be better." Ava looked at her brother, then back at Lenora. She offered a small but sincere smile. "I believe you," she said. As the plane lifted into the sky, Ava leaned back, holding her brother's hand. She gazed out the window, a quiet peace settling over her. She had learned something profound. Sometimes, change begins with the courage to speak up and the willingness to forgive.